All right. Welcome Abhijit, Akash, Ishwita, Kshitija, Mayuri, Rashmi, Srajan, Sushri. Thank you so much, guys, for joining. Okay. Um, so we are going to talk about uh, tech contracts today. So technology contracts, and we're going to look at some few different types of technology contracts which are kind of often used, and people will generally want those contracts to be drafted. Okay, companies in the technology space will want these contracts to be drafted. So we're going to look at those kind of contracts today. How many people are already doing anything in the technology field? Or how many people are like law students? How many of you are law students? Just raise your hands. Okay. How many are law students? Okay. Okay. So roughly, let's say 4 or 5 of the students are law students, and there are some people who have recently qualified, right? So Srajan, thank you so much. Recently qualified and recently appeared for the bar exam. So great. Okay. Welcome. Okay. So let's get into the topic for the day. And just to introduce myself for people who are joining our webinars for the first time, my name is Komal Shah, and I am a co-founder and content head for LawSikho. Okay, I'll just share my screen and we can actually look at the contracts. Somehow I end up putting the title slide here. But let's get from here, okay? So we're going to talk about the top 10 contracts. And why are we looking into contracts as such? Okay, so why would we focus or think about technology contracts? Okay, so there can be regulation that attracts technology, there can be offenses, there can be other areas that you are going to be working in, but contract is one field which is never going to die, right? Having contracts is one field which is never going to die. Now, going forward, you see situations in technology. Okay, we are talking. It's funny and it's ironic. We are talking of drafting technology contracts, and going forward, you may find scenes where technology itself is drafting contracts. Okay, so you can find software which will make or which will draft contracts for you. With use of AI. Okay, so yeah, good evening, everybody. Yeah, happy Republic Day to everyone. Thank you so much for that. Yeah, so I was talking of the situation where technology itself can be drafting contracts. Okay, so you can have situations where AI is used, okay, just to like put in the details, make some algorithms and draft contracts, okay, directly. And you can actually get to see that in some spaces. For example, if I share my experience with you, uh, if you go for registering a leave and license agreement in Mumbai, it is possible for you to just fill in the details as such on the website where it is required to be registered, and your contract is drawn up or your contract is taken up directly by the software. Okay, so you do not actually have to physically just print out a contract, and you do not have to upload everything, and you do not have to do this. Everything is completely electronic, so you're not required to draw it. Okay, you fill in the details of all the terms of the leave-in license. You fill in the details where you or how you have paid the stamp duty. Stamp duty is also paid electronically. So you just put the details of where you have paid the stamp duty. You paid the details. You give in the details of where you have paid the registration fee, and everything itself gets done through that website. So there can be situations where technology itself is taking care of contracts. However, that would apply in cases where quite a few terms or quite a few things in a contract tend to be standard. Okay. And technology is such a field that yesterday itself I was talking when I was discussing um, a topic with the webinar participants, that you will see so many variations of transactions that it can become really difficult to standardize a particular type of the contracts. Okay, because since the technology is progressing, you will be able to you will be able to the website URL, you can see grass.mahakosh.gov.in. That's where you register your leave-in license agreements in Mumbai, Sushil, if that's what you're looking for. Okay. So if you Google it, register leave-in license agreement and pay stamp duty, and you will arrive at it. Like it's not very difficult to find or locate. Okay. But here we are talking of, standardizing contracts. That can become a little bit difficult when you are talking of or thinking of a technological domain, because, terms can differ. The way in which the things are processed can differ. Transactions can be very much variant. There can be lots of things that are added, deducted. Many things can be different in the transaction. So it can become kind of difficult to standardize in that domain. Okay. And when you are having things which has a lot of variables, at that point of time, you need someone to apply their head to think whether a term works in the favor of their client or not. Okay. So then, like having AI into contract drafting apart, you undeniably need to learn contract drafting as a lawyer. Okay. So why am I saying that? People will say that I'm a litigator, I don't need contracts. Okay. People will maintain that. And that's a stand you can check at a later point of time. But I'll tell you why this happens. So if you think that if you want to work with businesses, okay, you want to work and you want to understand with businesses, then there is no alternative really. Okay, you will have to learn what contract drafting is, because again, a part of review of contracts also requires that you know how to draft it. You wouldn't otherwise be able to review contracts, okay, from the perspective of a client and its impact and everything as well. Okay. So if you want to work with businesses, there isn't really an alternative. Okay. Because like you are trying to make businesses avail your services. You want to be working with businesses. You want them to avail of your services as a lawyer. Businesses operate for profits. Okay, any business operates for profits. That is what the whole and sole intention of a business is. If we're going for work which doesn't operate for profits, which are not for profits, then they are not businesses. Okay, they are they are something else. They are social activity or social entrepreneurship or something like that. Okay, but they are not operating for profits in that case. Okay, businesses operate for profits. Profits can only be generated from transactions. Like you always have to have transactions, not activity. You have to have transactions where something is exchanged for something in order to be able to profit from that transaction. Okay. So at any point of time, A business will have to be entering into transactions here, there, everywhere, for whatever purposes. It will have to enter into transactions, and transactions require contracts. Okay, any buy and sell, like even if you go to some real small grocery shop or something where you're buying something for cash, but other than that, like if you ask, you want to put it into your records or books, you're going to ask for an invoice. And an invoice, there'll be everything that is put at in the front, but at the back there'll be terms and conditions. Okay, so what is this? It's essentially a contract, right? So you didn't draw it in the form of a contract, but a terms and conditions of sale. This is actually a contract. Okay, so transactions, always any kind of transactions will require contracts. Okay, anything that you want to do. And the funny thing is, businesses earlier used to operate on the basis of like, okay, it's a cash buy and sell. I don't need, like, it's done. It's like what typically people call as liya diya bhul gaya. Okay, so like, I gave it, you take it, or you gave it, I took it, and then we forget each other. Like, that's it. That's the end of it. Nothing further happens. So for that, I don't enter into a contract. But this thing happened. Okay. It actually increased the awareness about the necessity for contracts. So even when you entered into that situation, earlier, the Bulgaria kind of thing, something happened because of that, that, someone actually maybe transferred some product. It wasn't delivered because of the lockdown. Both of them suffered losses. Who is responsible? There is no contract, nothing. So people were hit badly because they realized that we don't have anything in writing agreed for the things that we had decided. And that is why, like, we will be hit. We don't have anything or any mechanism to enforce this. Okay, so we are left open for risk. Okay, so how many of you know of these cases, these kind of cases? Okay, delivery. People were delivering some things. Goods were stranded right on the roads. Okay, and it is not, the sender will say that it's left my facility. It's left. Okay, so now you have to pay for it, and the other guy will say, I never received it. So why am I supposed to pay for it? And there is nothing to determine actually who is liable. Okay. So this kind of situation arose, and people realized that when we don't, uh, enter into contracts, and we don't have anything in writing properly for the transaction, we will be left stranded. We will be exposed to risk. People have begun to realize because of this situation that arose. So you will find more people now trying to put lot of things that they do in writing, and getting everything bottom lined and completed. Okay, because they have been hit once. What if a businessman gives an invoice in any other business's name? Interestingly, this has happened. Like, this has happened. You can't do anything to them, right? That invoice doesn't have their name on it. They have given you, so as far as they are concerned, it's a cash transaction that has happened. Okay. They have given someone else's invoice and they signed for it, for which they had no authority to sign. So you can't even go and hold the other businesses liable. Okay. So, yeah. So, I mean, like, this is what people begin to check now after you are hit, like in a situation like this. Next time, you will check the name of the person, or you will check the name of the shop and the invoice, isn't it? Okay, this has actually happened. Thank you for bringing this, because it actually happens, like, this was actually told to me by someone, that they bought some products from a shop. They took the invoice, it said delivery pending. Okay, and they had left the thing there. Okay, they said that something needs to be done to the product. I'm leaving it here, get it completed. The invoice said delivery pending. When they came back, the person is saying, who are you? I don't know you. and you actually had an invoice from some another. So you checked everything, you checked the product, you checked the payment, you checked the delivery pending, but you didn't cross check the name of the business with what was written outside or where you went there. Okay. So this, like, you have to cross check all of these kinds of things. It's a GST invoice that is given to you. There is a number that's indicated, okay, and you are taking that, and actually they are not registered for GST. Okay. How can you, like, because what ground will you have? What ground will you have to proceed against it? We will say the sale never happened as far as I am concerned. Okay. So, yeah, I mean, this situation will happen. So, this is why the pandemic made people hit and realize that you actually have to have proper documentation and you have to have it checked and done properly. Okay. So this is your step one. Of course, you have to understand what transaction is happening. This is applicable for any contract, including technology contracts. Okay. So you have to understand what transaction is happening. Okay. Next is you have to know who the parties are going to be. So when you understand the transaction, you have to think who is going to be a party of this transaction. Okay, what is between whom is the transaction being entered into? Who is impacted? Sometimes there can be three parties. Okay, it is not necessary that it will be only the two sides to a transaction. There can be three parties and there can be a tripartite agreement. One of the contracts we are going to see today is in that zone. It's a tripartite agreement. Okay. Third, you have to understand their commercial intents. So what are they looking for from the transaction? Okay. So are they looking for money? Are they looking to sell something to you? What is their intention? Okay. So how do they stand to benefit or gain from that contract? Or in which situation will they benefit from that contract? That's what you have to find. And interestingly, in contract drafting, it's not like it's a it's a mutually exclusive kind of thing. So it's not like if one person wins, the other person has to lose. Sometimes it's a win-win for both of them. It depends upon the situation of both the parties, isn't it? Okay, so for X person, maybe there is no better buyer than this guy. So the alternatives are not working out. And for the buyer, maybe there's no better seller than this guy. The alternative is not working out in any other reason. So it can be a win-win situation. Exemplify step 3. Well, I mean, you will never have this situation where, uh, it's not necessarily mutually exclusive. Like, for example, let us think of this situation where there is a consultant, they are looking to provide the services, and there is a business entity who is looking to avail of the services. Okay, so now for the consultant to provide services to this entity, the other alternatives may be the people who are very well aware and they don't need the services as much. Okay, while for the person or the who is availing the services, this person may be the best consultant for the specific thing that they need. So there are other people, but they are not providing the exact same services that this guy provides. Okay. So it may be like a chartered accountant, but they need a chartered accountant to do a specific thing. Now there can be 50 chartered accountants, but they may not be working in that specific thing that this person needs. Okay. So for him, it's a win. Like he may be paying higher services, but then there is no alternative that is available. So for him, it's a win because I'm getting the job done at the end of the day. Okay. For the guy, it's a win because no one is looking for that specific kind of services. There are 20 other people or clients, but they're not looking for this. And when those 20 other clients comes, they are also able to check with the other people who are providing that specific service. So when you get into a specialized zone, there can be situations like this, which is a win for both. Okay. Tech contracts may be or can be negotiated by non-lawyers. Very, very much possible. There will be businessmen or entrepreneurs on one side who are availing, who are like, dealing. There can be providers on the other side who are techies. There can be receivers who are techies or businessmen. Neither of them may be like lawyers, but they know very well the aspects of the transaction that they are entering into. Okay, they may not know legal jargon, they may not know all of those things, but they know exactly what they are doing there. Okay, so it may be negotiated by non-lawyers. Okay, so you need to understand technology terms also in addition to the transactions, parties and intentions, because they will use that kind of terms in the contract and you must be able to understand what they are talking about. Okay, when you want to, they will give you the terms, like you are working with a client, they will give you certain terms. It's very familiar, it's very easy for them to relate to those terms because both them and the other party are familiar and they know what they are talking about. But if you want to provide services to them as a lawyer to draft the contract and to protect their interests, then you must also understand what they are talking about, right? So, in addition to all of these things, you must be able to understand the terms of a technology. For example, in one of our classes, we actually brought our tech head. Okay, we brought the LawSikho tech head into one of the classes, and he was talking about developing websites. Okay, so what happens, how the things move. He was talking about those. Okay, so he knows very well how the terms of the things work. What is the work involved? What are the terms? Okay, what are the things that are required to be negotiated or discussed with someone who is going to be availing that service? Okay, but someone who's a lawyer needs to understand that also, because website can be for anybody and it may not be a lawyer. So like both of them are non-lawyers, and you have to make sense of both of them in order to be able to provide a service, right? So three main types which I wanted to talk about of tech contracts, which you can frequently come across. Okay, so these types, it may be called differently. Okay, it may be named differently, but these types is something that, like you will come across. The first one is related to the product. Okay, and interestingly, in this, the product is usually intangible. You're not like it can be hardware. Okay, fine, I understand where you have some physical equipment or hardware which is being bought or sold or transferred or used or whatever. But many times, more often than not, the product is intangible. Okay, it's not something you can touch and feel. Okay, so therefore you have to be very, very extra careful. So when the product is intangible, what is it that you are actually doing with the product when you're buying or selling or giving it to use? What is it that you are giving? What is it that you are actually transferring if it's an intangible thing? Yeah, let's see what people are saying. IP, absolutely. It's the intellectual property that you are transferring, isn't it? Okay. So when you are transferring intellectual property, either it is a transfer or a licensing contract, right? So either you are completely giving it, you are giving that property completely, to someone, or you are licensing it and you are letting them use it, but within certain restrictions. Okay, so usually you will have contracts which are related to product. These will be transfer or licensing contracts. Can be lots of different types of licensing contracts. Of it can be licensing contracts of multiple different types of products. But at the bottom line, it is a transfer or a license of intellectual property that will happen, right? And so technology transfer agreements, wherein you are actually transferring, you are giving it, you are giving your IP, you are selling it away completely. Okay. So this can result in the case where you are actually, transferring the technology for use. You are taking royalty. Okay, so you completely give it to the transferee, and you are taking a royalty from their use of the intellectual property. Okay, so usually this will be like, not a very restricted kind of use. You are selling it completely. Okay. It can have this kind of situation. The terms can be like one payment in a block, or it can be linked to the sale later on that they have of that particular software. Okay. So that's what the transfer will be. And licensing can be restricted to specific things. Okay, so end user license agreement, does anyone know what this is about? What's an end user license agreement? Anyone has heard of it? EULA, as it's called in the full form. Yes, Mayuri, what is it? Payment is per user, usage of IP. There may not be any specific payment as such. Usage of the IP, basically that's what it is. While using websites, yeah, while using softwares, okay, that's where. So wherever you are the last user, okay, you're not going to pass it over to anybody else. You are the ultimate consumer. Okay, so I'm going to exit this. I'm going to show this. So this is McAfee. How many of you know McAfee? McAfee. McAfee is like, the security software, right? Antivirus software maker, antivirus software, yeah. So this here is a corporate end user license agreement, which you can find on McAfee's website. Okay. So everywhere they have put like, a license that is granted. Okay, so it is not something where they are giving you their software, but they are giving you a license to use that software. Okay, so if you look at, this is what it is. Okay, so a right to use the software, that's what they are giving you. Okay, so McAfee on one side and company as identified in the grant letter or letter on the other side. So McAfee is the licensor and the company which is entering into this agreement is the licensee. Okay. But basically what is being given is a right to use the software. Okay. This agreement is available on a simple Google. Okay, you don't have to go deep, you don't have to like research into for a crazy amount of time. This is just right available and you can have a look at things like this. Okay, so many of these agreements will be on, we'll talk about where you can find these things. So this is an end user license agreement by McAfee. Okay. So there is a use and terms of this. And as we just discussed, okay, There is intellectual property rights. So how are intellectual property rights dealt with in this agreement, in this license that is being given to the company which uses it? Okay. So these are the terms you can have a look at. These are all right there, and there is nothing here which is like, very specific to US or very specific to India. Of course, the laws as applicable will be for both of the countries, but this can give you an idea of what kind of terms are entered into in the license agreements. Okay. Simple Google and you can find this. Okay. So end user license agreement. Video game license agreement. I took out even that one. These are all available on where you, if you just Google, there will be so many companies who have filed these kinds of agreements with the SEC, the Securities and Exchange Commission. And you will find the agreements there on the SEC website. Okay, it's just right there for you to see what kind of terms are there in the agreements, who are the people who are entering into the agreement. Okay, so here this agreement is entered into between a developer, okay, a developer and a licensee. Okay, and then there are terms that are there for the agreement. This is a complete product related agreement, and like we said, it's a license for the product. Okay. Okay. What is next? Ebook publishing agreement. So this is what you can find. Kindle Direct publishing terms and conditions. If you are publishing on Kindle, you are subject to this. These are the terms and conditions of Kindle. What is this? This is a contract. Okay. You will be able to see this. Kindle Direct publishing. So this is the book publishing agreement where you are, working with Kindle to publish your intellectual property, your books related to products. So these are related to products. Okay. These are all right there open on the internet for you to find out. The second category is related to provision of services. So where there are certain services which can be provided with respect to technology. And this is the number one, maintenance and support agreements, right? Always you will have that there can be software which is customized and built for a certain type of clients. And when they are using that software, obviously the person who is making it may also have to provide maintenance and support related to that software. Okay, so for example, there is something that is glitching in the software, they might have to correct it. If there is someone who is not able to find a way, then they might have to conduct a demo and show how that thing needs to be done. So maintenance and support related agreements with respect to software, these are service contracts, right? Like ERP systems, uh, like your HR related systems, like your trading terminals. There can be n number of different things. Okay, whatever software someone provides to a company, then they will be looking at the maintenance and the support with respect to that software. Okay, master service agreements. Yes, Sushil, you want to ask something? I've allowed you to speak. You can unmute yourself and speak. Sushil, you can unmute yourself and speak. You have any questions in relation to maintenance and support? Okay, so what is master service agreement? What is a master service agreement? Future agreement? What do you mean by that? That's an interesting way to put it. What is a future agreement? Future transactions. Yeah, so it's kind of an overlapping agreement over a period of time. Okay, it's like a parent agreement, exactly, Pratik. Okay, so it's an overarching agreement for services which may be provided over a period of time. So, and when that services are entered into, each time there will be something like a statement of work, and each time you can have, like, invoicing which is related to that particular work. Just give me one sec. There's a lot of background noise here. Yeah. So it is basically an overarching agreement or an umbrella agreement for which you will be providing services. Every time there can be something that is like a statement of work, which you generate for the service that you provide. And then there is invoicing, which is managed accordingly. Okay, but the basic terms of payment or things like that will be covered in here. Okay, so the time or the duration when that specific service gets provided may extend over a period of time. Consulting agreements, it's very simple. There is nothing complicated here. If you are engaging a consultant on telling you how to manage your website or how to work your software or what kind of changes you want to make into the design and everything, it's a simple consultancy agreement. And that happens with any kind of technology. It is not necessary only like software related or something. It can be anything. Order fulfillment agreement. How many of you have heard of this? How many has heard of this? Order fulfillment agreement. Sushil has heard of this. Sushil, what is it about? What is order fulfillment? Mayuri, what is order fulfillment agreement? What's an order fulfillment agreement? Come on, the people who have heard about it, you can speak. Sushil, you can unmute yourself and speak. When order complete agreement over Amazon, it's usually for for like e-commerce websites. Okay. Websites like Flipkart, Amazon, everybody. E-commerce websites will enter into this. Yeah, it's used by e-commerce. But what does it contain? What is the transaction here that is happening? Okay. In other contracts, we talked about the transaction that happens. What is the transaction that happens in an order fulfillment agreement? Logistics contracts. Yes, primarily it is a supply and logistics contract. Okay, not just logistics, but it's a supply and logistics combined contract. Okay, that is why you will have three parties here. It's tripartite. Okay, so you can have the e-commerce entity, which is the platform. You can have the supplier, and who else? Retailers, suppliers, and consumers. Not consumers. Delivery, absolutely. Okay, so it will be a supplier, the e-commerce platform, and the person who is delivering. So a logistics company, right? Because the order will usually be taken or come from the e-commerce website, that will be passed on to the supplier who has to keep the product ready, and then the person who is delivering it has to take the product from there and deliver it to the end consumer. Okay, so it's a tripartite agreement between all three of these people: the platform, the supplier, and the logistics company. Brilliant. Okay. Like Zomato, your Zomato collects your order, your restaurant prepares the food, and your delivery guy delivers it. Okay. Usually in Zomato and all of this case, the delivery people or the logistics company is also owned by the platform. In many cases, logistics are owned by platforms. Okay. But the e-commerce company will usually not be owning the products. They'll not be owning the products. Why? Can somebody tell me this? Why is this? They collect it from a supplier. They'll not be buying it. They'll just ensure the delivery of it. Why? Why will they not do this? Why don't they buy all the stock? They maintain the stock from the supplier and then they can deliver. Why do they not do this? Why do they not do this? Come on, there's one reason. Two reasons: cost and liability increases. Well, yeah, that is one factor, but what else? Exactly. Foreign entities cannot have their own. They can't be engaging in inventory based models if they are taking FDI, and most e-commerce companies have FDI in them. Okay. So they cannot be working on an inventory based model, which means they can't purchase the products and sell it on the platform. So that's why they'll have a supplier separate. Okay. Order fulfillment contracts. Okay. Terms and conditions of use of a website. Okay. Let's have a look of this. Look at this here. Where can we find? Here we go. So these are the conditions of use of your website. Okay. This is also, very important for e-commerce. Yeah, cookies, everything. Cookie policy. Cookie will be policy. Still, it amounts to an agreement, and we'll come to that. Privacy and cookie policies kind of amount to that. Okay. So, conditions of use. Now, how will Amazon know that you have read this? Okay. How will Amazon know that you have read this? There is no I agree button here. Was this information helpful? Huh? How will Amazon know? Everywhere, in many cases, you will find the I agree button. In fact, go to any law firm's website. You will have these things. Let's try 𝗁 Mangaldas, for instance. Disclaimer, yeah. So here, I've been on the website before. So it will not pop up right now for me. Let's try any other firm. Give me any other firm. Big law. Big law firm. Give me any other firm. Come on. Give me any other law firm. 𝗀𝗨. 𝗀𝗨 and Company. Let's go to 𝗀𝗨. I must have been to their website also, by the looks of it. That's why it's not popping a disclaimer. So can you see? I must have the clicked the thing. Any website will have this. Any website will have this disclaimer. Okay. And what is that called? What is that kind of thing called? When they are asking you to click I agree. 𝗵𝗫 Desai. Let's try that. People are Googling 𝗵𝗫 Desai Associates salary. So everywhere you will find that. See, here it is. Can you see? This is a disclaimer. Only then it will allow you to get into. What is this called? What is this called? When you click this and you say agree, what is this called? It's called a click wrap contract. Okay, so when you click here, I agree, it's a click wrap contract. Yeah, thank you, Pratik. So you agree, by clicking you agree, but that's not the case here for Amazon's conditions of use. So what is this called, Pratik? What is this one called? If I'm not asked to click, I agree. There is nowhere I agree here. What is this called? What is this called, guys? Pratik has the answers, I believe. Scroll wrap, well, yeah, or browse wrap. Okay, so when you go into that and you have gone through, you've just checked all of that, and you are not asked to tick that you have checked the conditions of use, or you are not asked to tick that you have read the privacy policies, or you are not asked confirmation of all of that. Okay, then you go, then it becomes a browse wrap contract. You are asked to see. So you at least you have to see or you have to read. Okay, you have to confirm that you have read it. So you may not agree or you may not click I agree, but there will be a requirement that you have read it. Okay, so it becomes a browse wrap contract. So privacy policies, cookie policies, all of these might be mostly will be in the zone of a browse wrap contract where you go and you tick that I confirm that I have read the privacy policy. I confirm that I have read the cookie policy. Things like that it can be there. Okay. Or it will just pop up and say this website uses cookies and by clicking this you are agreeing. Then it's a click wrap one. Okay. So privacy policies will be in that zone. Okay, let's look at the next thing. Terms and conditions of use. We just saw the Amazon terms and conditions of use. These are all there. So if you're using Amazon.in, okay, then these are the terms and conditions to which you are subject. Okay, terms and conditions of use of a website. What's next? So there can be agreements which are a combination of product and service there. Okay, which will be your software development and maintenance. So someone has customized, developed a software for you. So they will provide that software also, and they will provide the maintenance also. Usually this will not be like, uh, usually this may not be in the software as a service zone. So where you are like, a software as a service is where you have open software which is up on like the platform and it is open for everybody to use it. Okay, usually development and maintenance together will be in a situation where something has been developed exclusively for you and you are using it for your own business. Okay, so there it will be software development and maintenance. Website development and maintenance, this can be customized also, okay, for your use. Usually websites, you will not find things or elements which are standard. Okay, so everyone will have their own customized websites. Privacy policy, I said like, that it will usually it will be browser app where you are asked to tick that, okay, I confirm that I have read the privacy policy. It will not say I agree, but it will ask you to confirm that you have read it. Okay. So how can you learn the different types of contracts now? So how are you going to learn? Okay, did I take out a privacy policy? So this is like a manufacturing and technology transfer agreement. I hadn't taken out a privacy policy, but will be there in any website that you go to. Any website, in fact, that you go to will have a privacy policy. Okay. any website in most places, if you go to the sitemap, somewhere or the other you will find a privacy policy. Okay. About us, NTA, areas of service, research, opportunities, NTA, cloud, member access, content. So here is your disclaimer, popped up immediately. Okay. So let's say you agree to it. Okay. They have created a different access for everything. So you go to NTA here. Somewhere or the other you will find the privacy policy if you search for on the websites. It will be there, but let's look at something else where you can easily find it. For example, flipkart.com. Oh, for an e-commerce website, it's taking quite long to open. It is not right for them. Okay. Let's go to serial shop only, the one that we opened first. Let's see if they have a privacy policy. At least their privacy policy will be drafted by them, possibly, or maybe reviewed by them. So you can have privacy policy which is drafted and reviewed by a top firm. Here you go. Okay. This is a privacy policy which is drafted and reviewed by a top law firm up there, right, for you to see what is contained in it. That's the thing about tech contracts, right? So you will have many of them will have to be used by people, by websites. So you get to see all of this. Okay. So look at that. So this is your privacy policy which 𝗁𝗵𝘁 Mangal Das is using. Okay. Great. So how can you learn the different type of contracts? The way that I did exactly. Okay, so I showed you some contracts here. These are not all the types of contracts that you can have. There can be many other things that can be there. These are kind of very common type of contracts. Okay, so how can you learn about the different types of contracts? You actually find all of these contracts. Okay, you can go to the the websites of these kind of entities. You can find the contracts right there, or many you can find like this as filed with SEC. Okay, and I can tell you that it doesn't make a difference whether it's an American company or an Indian company. The terms that you are going to be thinking of are the same, because the transaction at the bottom of the day is the same. You may be putting it differently in terms of the Indian laws, and you may be checking that it's okay in terms of Indian laws, but at the end of the day, the transaction, the consideration that is happening, this is going to be the same. Doesn't matter if it's US, doesn't matter if it's India. So you will find loads of contracts like this on the website of the SEC, and you can actually take a look and read through and see what is happening. How is the consideration flowing here? Who is doing what? When? All of these things you can be able to see by looking at each of these contracts. When you find out just by simply researching all of these contracts. But you would have to study multiple different types of contracts that you find in order to and make the list of what are the kind of terms that are happening in these contracts. You want to go in this way. Okay, so that is something you can go to. The list of contracts you can find here. I've always shown this. Okay, you go to the website of LawSikho, and we have this course on cyber law. fintech regulations and technology contracts, you go to the syllabus of that course and you can find different types of agreements and contracts listed here. Okay. And you can actually even check the clauses that are listed here. So what are the critical interests to be protected in technology contracts, for example? Okay, which are the clauses like this? Data management and security clauses. And you can actually go to the websites and see what are the kind of clauses that you find in those contracts. Okay, risk management and termination clauses, okay, payment mechanism, all of this. You will search for, these clauses on the internet. The list you have right here. Okay, domain name assignment or transfer and settlement agreement. You can, so there will be far more contracts than what we have discussed today. Okay, and you can find list of things here, but you can find the type of contracts on the internet by looking at it. Okay, you can also find clauses from those contracts to have a look at it. Okay, that how does it work? Okay, so these are like other kinds of technology contracts. Now, if you Google, maybe you will find some contracts of this type which are filed with the SEC as well. Okay, so you can definitely look at the contracts and get an idea of what are the terms going to be like, okay, in this manner by this route. And you can actually try thinking of and drafting the clauses. You can do it. Okay, why not? And but that is like the things that we do in the course. In that we actually draft the clauses of each of these contracts. Okay. Relevant operative clauses, also boilerplate clauses, we draft. Okay. Now, how can we help you? You can have a look at this, and if it looks like there is something or the types of contracts that you want to go through or you really want to learn on how to draft that. This course is actually extensive. It is far beyond technology contracts. You have far more things in this course than technology contracts, but you can get the list of contracts from here for sure. Okay, so take a look at this. We are also going to be doing a workshop on the 30th, which is on paralegal work. So you can go to the webinars section here, where we are actually going to be doing a workshop on how to get foreign paralegal work. This is it about, okay? This is it here. So if you're going to get work from foreign tech lawyers, how do you go about that? That's what this 3 hours workshop is about. Okay. So you can register for this one. Okay. How many are going to be registering for this workshop? And who needs to attend this? Who are the people who will be eager to hire people from India? Who is going to be registering for this workshop? Sushil, Nithya, only 2 people. It's a free 3 hours workshop, and it will be demonstrating how you can get work by demonstration, not just by explanation. Okay, so this is something you cannot like uh, actually miss. It will be very valuable. So you can join this workshop for sure on the 30th. Yeah. Okay, anyone has any questions now before we call it? Yeah, it's on 30th. It's on 30th. Okay, anyone has any questions now on the tech contracts that we discussed? Did you get to learn something out of the webinar today? Just rate in terms of 10. So like rate from out of 10 how much value you got. Already registered, so she's great. Thank you, Mayuri. Thank you. Thanks, Chandrasekhar. Thank you. Thank you so much, guys. Thank you. Okay, brilliant. Okay, so be there in the workshop and you will get, loads of more value from the workshop, high value workshops. Okay. Goodbye, guys. Have a great evening.